Today we are talking about the dark side of campus life in Kenya. This is the reality in 2026 of the things that are happening in our campuses and institutions in Kenya. If you're at the university, planning to go to the university, or you have a child or someone that you're looking after that is going to go to the university, this video is absolutely important for you because it will save you a lot of headaches and losses that you might not be aware about. Welcome to EduSens Africa. I bring you weekly videos about your educational and your career journey. I help you to understand your options and to know what goes on when you're transitioning from your primary, secondary, and tertiary education system. So today we are talking about the 5 truths that nobody tells you about campus life in Kenya, and specifically I'm talking about the reality currently in 2026, because every single year there's something new, things keep changing, and we have to be updated what is currently happening as we speak. The first thing that you need to understand is that there's a lot of financial pressure in our Kenyan campuses, and our students sometimes are not able to keep up. Even those that are receiving HELB loan, they're not able to keep up because things have become expensive, and you find that they have to pay for their accommodation, to pay for food. There's a lot of things happening with our current Gen Z, a lot of trends happening when it comes to fashion, when it comes to going to places, and all these things are putting financial pressure on our students. So if you have a child or if you are currently at the university, you need to understand that it is a reality for everyone. Things have become expensive and you're likely not to afford everything that everyone else has. Consider being patient with yourself and understand that you might not be able to afford some things currently. The time shall come when you shall be able to afford it if you can't afford it now, and don't give yourself unnecessary pressure with things that are not mandatory. The second thing that is a reality in our Kenyan campuses today is the sponsor and blesser culture, which is actually spoiling our children and spoiling our society, and we have to talk about it, we like it or not. Due to the financial pressure that I've already talked about, things becoming expensive, and the generation just wanting to identify with everyone else, people are getting into unhealthy relationships where they are dating older people just because they want to be sustained financially and not because they actually love each other genuinely or they care about each other genuinely. This is a reality that we need to be aware about as parents. When we send our kids off to campuses, let's try and talk to them and find out what is happening in their lives, what are some of the challenges they are going through, what are the relationships they are getting into, and if you have a good relationship with your child, they might be able to open up to you, or you might be able to advise them not to get into such relationships, because in most cases it does not end up well. Most of these sponsors and blessers are people that already have families, they have relationships, and they are really going into this relationship because they have the money. They will give the money, but they will want something in return. They will either want sexual relationships or being intimate with the students, and in most cases it comes with negative effects, especially for the students. If you are in campus and you are listening to me, and maybe you are in a temptation to get into a sponsor relationship or a blesser relationship, or maybe you are even already into that relationship, but you have the time to change your ways, you have the time to actually make a different decision, I'll just tell you that, this life today you might not be having what you want, but if you're patient with yourself, finish that campus, you'll be able to get a job and you'll be able to finance the things that someone else is financing for you but taking advantage of you, because they are actually taking things from you that they shouldn't be taking away from you just because they are giving you money. Things like your innocence, your energy, your time, even your health. These are very, very important things that should never be bought just because of money. So if you're able to change your ways and get into healthy relationships and try to see how you can sustain yourself with what you can afford or what your parents can afford to give you, consider doing that, because in the long run it will actually be good for you. Which brings me to the third truth that nobody wants to talk about, and it's the fact that currently in our campuses in Kenya there's a lot of drugs and substance abuse that is happening. And this is also linked to peer pressure, to all this sponsor and blesser relationship, because children are getting into situations where for them to actually sustain that kind of lifestyle, they need to be high. They need to be having something that makes them behave in a way that is not normal. And in most cases, these are drugs and these are alcohol. These are the realities that in most cases we don't want to talk about, but then it is here to stay, and unless we talk about it, unless we get into a point where we can freely discuss with the students without judgment and just trying to understand, okay, what is happening, what made you get into drugs, what made you get into alcohol, and what can change, or what can we do as your parents or as your bigger sisters and brothers, what can we do to help you change the situation. Drugs and alcohol don't always go well for people because you're likely to get addicted. It needs a lot of money to sustain, and in most cases it can even lead you to dropping out of school, getting into unnecessary debts because you are borrowing money left, right and center to afford this alcohol or drugs, or even push you to get into some of these relationships we're talking about so that you can be able to afford the drugs and the alcohol. So if you're in campus currently, again, look at the kind of friends you're keeping around you and which kind of influence they're helping you to get into. If there are friends that are making you go astray, consider changing those friends and changing your environment, because it will highly affect what you're doing with your free time and whether you're getting into drugs and alcohol. If you are a parent or a brother and a sister and you have a sibling or a child at the university, we need to be involved in their lives, and not in a forceful way, not to force yourself into wanting to know what's happening with their lives, or spending time with them if they don't want to, but just being friends with them, getting to know what's happening in their life. Okay, are they getting into some of these things like alcohol and drugs, and where can we come in to guide them and to help them so that they don't lose their ways. Before we talk about the two last things that are happening in our campuses today, I hope that you are enjoying the information I'm sharing with you. If you're new here, you're very much welcome. Consider subscribing to these channels that whenever I post about educational topics, things happening in our schools, high schools, universities, and even courses that you can do, marketable courses and so on, you'll be notified and you can come to watch and to get yourself informed. I also offer one-on-one consultation services. If you're out there and you have a child, a sister, a brother, or you yourself, you're thinking about going to the university, to college, or doing a certain course and you're not really sure whether it's the right thing for you or not, I can be able to help you figure this out on a consultation basis. If you also have a child, maybe they didn't perform very well, but you want them to go on and do something at the certificate level, diploma level, or campus, and you need them to be encouraged here and there, to be motivated, to be guided, I'm able to also do such kinds of consultation. I'll be putting my contacts on your screen. Please reach out to me via WhatsApp. It's a paid consultation, but I can assure you it's totally worth it. You'll be able to do something that aligns with you and save yourself a lot of money and a lot of time that you could have actually wasted if you just get into some of these courses or some of these places blindly. Now, the fourth thing that most people don't talk about is that our campuses are actually a cohabiting trap. There's a lot of cohabiting happening at the campuses. People are silently just getting married, living together, right from first year, second year, without any official agreement, without the parents knowing about it or even the siblings knowing about it. And this thing is affecting our kids in the campuses. These are things that can actually be avoided. Things like pregnancies without planning, things like mistreatment. You find that some people, both men and women, are mistreating each other because they're living together but they've not been prepared to live together. In campus, we go there to study, to go to class, pass your examinations, maybe work here and there, network here and there. But you are getting cohabiting relationships where you live together and you have to share duties, or even sometimes is one person doing the duties and yet they don't have any sort of agreement as husband and wife, or any sort of agreement as someone working for the other. So things like pregnancies, things like dropping out of school, things like mistreatment, and even violence, gender-based violence and such like things are happening because of cohabiting in our campuses, and this can absolutely be avoided if we just start having these conversations. The fifth thing that most people don't talk about, but it is happening day and night in our campuses, is cyberbullying. And this has actually been proven by research that 1 in every 3 students in Kenya is facing mental health issues because of cyberbullying. With the rise of the digital space, we have all these social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and every single day there are new platforms coming up. Our campus students are getting into these spaces to socialize with others, sometimes to get in touch with others, to learn about ABCD, but unfortunately it also has negative effects. Our students are being bullied online. The way long time ago, before all this social media was there, people used to be bullied one-on-one. Nowadays, you get bullied online by someone who is so far, they don't even know you, or maybe they know you, but they are hiding behind just a name, a pseudonym online, and they're able to harass students. We've seen photos, videos of our students in very, very vulnerable situations, and this has led to a lot of mental health issues and even sometimes suicide, things that we can actually try to sort out or avoid, or just be careful about how we handle or how we treat others that can't see us. I hope that you found this video informative and you've learned one or two things that maybe you are not aware about. Consider sharing it to many other people out there so that we can be informed and we can do better, because normally when you know better, you do better. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.